All right, what's going on, you guys? Brian here with my NXT recap for this week's episode. We're just going to get right into it. We had in the opening match for the NXT Tag Team Championships. This was the first of two championship matches taking place on tonight's episode. It was Marcel Bartel and Fabian Aichner of Imperium successfully defending against Breezango. There was a lot of confusion near the end of the match when Inda Sure and Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch got into it at ringside. But in the end, it was Bartel and Aichner of Imperium retaining. Velveteen Dream had an interview that would kind of be interrupted by Dexter Lumis. Lumis put a picture of him and Velveteen Dream holding the NXT Tag Team Championships on Velveteen's couch, and Velveteen's seen it, and he's like, no, that's not going to happen. I'm solo, and that was pretty much it for that. We saw Damien Priest pick up a big victory over Killian Dane, looking to bounce back from his loss at NXT TakeOver In Your House, that being Damien Priest. We saw Aaliyah, with the help of a very down in the dumps Robert Stone, pick up a win over Xia Li. We saw the Timothy Thatcher Thatcher's Thatch Can wrestling style training segment, where basically it was Thatcher putting his students in a submission and trying to hurt them. We had a very funny Undisputed Era therapy session where Adam Cole and Bobby Fish tried to get Roderick Strong to face his fears of being locked in the trunk of a car, and they had a therapist that looked a lot like, and probably was, Kyle O'Reilly, trying to help him out as well in a session. It would end with Cole and Bobby Fish taking the therapist's advice and having Roddy face his fears of the trunk. They took him to the trunk of the limousine that they were in, and he wound up running away. So that was pretty funny. We would hear from Adam Cole, the NXT champion, who would talk about what happened last week, where he kind of got different messages sent by two different individuals, one being from Keith Lee, the North American champion, and one being from Karrion Kross, who had Scarlett bring out a hourglass to say that Adam Cole's reign as NXT champion is up. He would say, and then he would be interrupted by Keith Lee, who said Adam Cole ain't got nothing to worry about because Karrion Kross is not going to take the NXT title from him. It's going to be him. Then he would take Keith Lee would take the hourglass and throw it on the ground, smashing it into pieces. And that was it for this segment. Then Adam Cole would come to the ring. He would talk about all these potential challengers, and they could send messages about coming for his championship, but they have to earn it. They have to earn their shot to face him. Keith Lee would interrupt, followed by Johnny Gargano, followed by Finn Balor. They started arguing and saying that each one of them was coming for the championships, to the point where William Regal appeared on the Tron saying that, you know what, you've given me a great idea. Next week, Keith Lee will defend the NXT North American Championship against both Johnny Gargano and Finn Balor in a triple threat match, and whoever wins that one goes on to July 8th and will face Adam Cole in a winner-take-all champion versus champion match, where the winner will walk out with both the North American Championship and the NXT Championship. So that was a huge announcement affecting the upcoming weeks of NXT. And personally, I don't think that's a good idea to have one person with 2 championships, but it's a good way of setting up future matches in the going into the further. So after that, we would see a Keith Lee interview backstage where he was asked about that announcement. He would be interrupted by Johnny Gargano's wife, Candice LeRae, who would then get into a brawl with Mia Yim, who she has had issues with over recently. Then we would see Dakota Kai pick up a win in one-on-one action against Kayden Carter. It kind of broke down near the end where Raquel Gonzalez, Dakota Kai's bodyguard friend, she would distract Kayden Carter, or I believe I said Raquel Gonzalez. Sorry, guys. But Raquel Gonzalez distracted Kayden Carter when she was looking for the win. Then Casey Catanzaro, she was in Kayden Carter's corner. She would try to dive onto Raquel. Raquel would catch her and slam her onto the apron, and that was enough of a distraction for Dakota Kai to try to roll up Kayden, who kicked out, but then wound up getting locked in a submission by Dakota Kai. So Kayden Carter had no other alternative but to tap out. Then we would see Karrion Kross and Scarlett walk by what was left of the hourglass, and that was pretty much it for that. We saw a promo for Mercedes Martinez, who is going to be making her return to NXT very soon. We saw Bronson Reed pick up a win over Leon Ruff. This wasn't even a match. It was just basically Bronson Reed dominating, picking up a quick win. He would then challenge for a match next week, Karrion Kross. Of course, Kross a few weeks ago attacked Bronson Reed after Bronson had just competed in a match. This was before the NXT Takeover in Your House event, where Karrion Kross was going to fight Tommaso Ciampa. To send a message to Ciampa, he attacked Bronson Reed. So that's another match set for next week. We had a Damien Priest segment backstage in the parking lot where he saw that the tires of his car were slashed, and he was trying to figure out who did it. He found one of those not pocket knives, but those box cutters kind of knives, and and Cameron Grimes drove past and said, "Hey, Damien, what's the matter? You want me to call you an Uber?" And kind of putting the blame on himself, saying, not putting the blame on himself, but basically making Damien think that it was actually Cameron Grimes who slashed his tires, because earlier on in the night when they showed Damien Priest showing up at the arena, you see in the background, and I know this is probably something I forgot to mention, that you see Cameron Grimes in the background, looking at and watching Damien Priest walk in. So, and this came about because of what happened last week when, during an interview segment with Cameron Grimes had, Damien Priest walked up and Cameron Grimes insulted him for losing at TakeOver in Your House to Finn Balor, and Damien Priest punched him and almost broke his jaw. So then we would hear from the new NXT Cruiserweight Champion, Santos Escobar, who is no longer El Hijo del Fantasma. He would come out with Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Then he would talk about his family lineage, how he's a leader of leaders. He's going to make Mendoza and Wilde leaders as well. he would be interrupted by Drake Maverick, who would go after all three of them, especially Escobar, and uh, and it would not turn out good for Drake Maverick, as he would be the victim of a phantom driver from a platform through a table at the hands of Santos Escobar that would send Drake Maverick to the hospital. So that was pretty much it for that segment. Then in the main event, it was Sasha Banks and Bayley successfully defending their WWE Women's Tag Team Championships against Shotzi Blackheart and Tegan Nox. I thought Nox and Blackheart did a really good job in this match. They have done well together as a tag team, but it wasn't enough for them to beat Bayley and Banks. Afterwards, Bayley and Sasha were celebrating, and who would show up to interrupt and attack them? None other than the new NXT Women's Champion, Io Shirai, who sent them packing, saying that this was her NXT, and that is how NXT went off the air, with the NXT Women's Champion Io Shirai standing tall. So a pretty cool, pretty good episode of NXT tonight. Like I said, it was, they set up a lot of things for the not only next week but for upcoming weeks. As far as that winner take all match with whoever wins next week's triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship, facing Adam Cole on July 8th, and the winner walking out with both championships. So I can't wait to see that one. But overall, pretty good episode tonight. I'm probably going to watch AEW Dynamite tomorrow. Um, Tonight's episode of Dynamite, I'll probably watch that tomorrow, and I'll have a recap of what happened on there. So with that being said, this has been my NXT recap for this week's episode. As always, I am Brian, and thank you for watching.